I would like to welcome you to this euPOLIS webinar training for learning more about this project from the euPOLIS experts. And for our first presentation, I would like to welcome Vasilis Bellos for the welcome speech and the introduction.
Good morning to everyone. I will share my screen.
Vasilis, we see yeah, now it's good.
All right, yeah. Again, good morning to everyone. Thank you that you're participating in this capacity building expert training. My talk is a small briefing about the euPOLIS approach and in general the nature-based solutions. I will start with showing an indicative example of how humanity was dealing with the technical works that they were helping to acquire the several resources to transport between one place to other and so on. All this complex of technical works is, let's say, the infrastructure, as we say today. And for years and years, humanity was developing the infrastructure just using techno-economical criteria and nothing else more. However, after the Industrial Revolution and the boom of the technological development, all this approach had several impacts, negative, and I will mention some, and I'm sure that if someone thinks there are more and more negative impacts, pollution of water and air and soil, of course. The cities have this phenomenon called urban heat island, which means that it is much hotter than the rest of the undeveloped areas, let's say, flooding, droughts, and so on. And if this development of the infrastructure using this gray approach has the impact in environment, this is not just the case. We see the degradation in several sectors, such as public health, in urban development, in economy, and in society in general. So the last few years, I would say no more than one or two decades, we started to discuss the technical world, and not only, of course, about the nature-based solutions. And instead of using one binary approach like do nothing, leave the environment as it is, and gray approach, which is the hard conventional structural approach, let's say, we consider that there is a spectrum here for all the measures we are doing in order to develop the infrastructure. So we start with do nothing, and we have afterwards we have the managerial politics, and then we go for some structural approaches, which starts with the green approach, which is the nature-based solution using degradable materials. The green-gray approach, which is a hybrid way of between green and gray approach, and the gray approach, which is the conventional structural approach with non-degradable materials. So a good example of how nature-based solution works, it can be shown like reminding the example of COVID-19. We remember in that time that we were saying that we want to flatten the curve. Means that we try to have the same the same people in the hospital, but in a longer duration. This is the same if we want to have a natural-based solution against flooding, for example. We have an inflow signal which is sharp and have large peaks, and we want this to reduce the peak and propagate all this signal in more duration, let's say. So this is the general philosophy of green and gray approaches. So what is euPOLIS? euPOLIS title is the Integrated Nature-Based Solution Urban Planning Methodology for Enhancing the Health and Well-Being of Citizens. And it is a source-to-top approach. So we construct some nature-based solutions, some green interventions at 4 pilot areas, and we assess the impact to 5 pillars. Environmental, of course, but except of environmental, we see the impact of these green interventions in society, in public health and well-being, in urban development, and in business, namely the economy. So these are the 4 pilot areas, front-runner cities. It's Piraeus, Belgrade in Serbia, Gladsaxe in Denmark, and Łódź in Poland. And we have 4 follower cities in which we organize these capacity building events to transfer the knowledge. And these follower cities is Limassol, of course, Palermo in Italy, Trebinje in Bosnia, and Bogota in Colombia. Here I am showing you some indicative spots of where did we plan to do the interventions. You will see later in the presentations details about the interventions. And here we have some examples of what is done until now. So the objective of this capacity building expert training is, as I previously mentioned, is to transfer the knowledge from the front runner cities to the follower cities. And of course, this is not an one-way procedure. This is why we have this circle. We need from you, from the follower cities, the feedback in order to see how can we adapt our approach. So this is it, more or less. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasilis. And thank you for showing us the overview of the project. Our second speaker is Stanislava Boskovic, if I am pronouncing this correctly.
Fantastic.
Okay. For her presentation on euPOLIS philosophy and methodology, and presenting more about the urban solutions inspired by nature for the health and well-being of citizens.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this kind introduction, and thank you, Vasilis, for the introductory presentation. So you already have an idea, and of course we've been meeting, and I'm seeing also some representatives from other followers cities here in Lenia, which is great, because truly this sharing of knowledge, as Vasilis nicely put it, is a reciprocal process, and we learned a lot, and sometimes we wish our follower cities were our front-runner cities, just because of their active participation. So I will build upon some of the topics that Vasilis already introduced nicely, as I said. And just this is the part regarding philosophy, just to think about why we thought and dedicated our project to nature-based solutions. It is, of course, for using the elements of nature in urban planning process, but also to learn a lot from nature, not only from the point of view of benefits that we have direct and some of them really obvious of viewing the green or using the benefits of shadow, but also to really try to observe what we can learn from nature. And of course, creating the places that are beneficial from social, environmental, economic, and all 5 pillars that Vasilis mentioned point of view. It's an ongoing process and a very dynamic process. So there is no one generic solution, as Brits would say, one size fits all solution, but it is very, very context based and really observing how nature works and how it gives the possibility to each element to have its own space, but at the same time to give an creating a holistic organism, as we can see in this beautiful image of crown shyness, which is this phenomena that show us how trees are living the space for many reasons to each other, but then they move in a very harmonious way all together. So this is the idea of using natural elements in the cities. And even before we started the project, we had pre-selected some of the nature-based solutions we thought that might be used in specific cases. And this is also to understand how deeply developed was the project, even at the application level, to have a list or menu, as you can see here, of different nature-based solutions to tackle the challenges all our cities are pressured by, such as low environmental quality in some of its parts, decreasing biodiversity, and of course, as very nicely put it by Vasilis, droughts and other water connected stresses in the city. So I will just very quickly show you what we already had in mind before even starting the project, and how then we put together the idea of this menu of different NBSs with the real case studies and demo sites we've been working on over the last more than 4 years. So we had pocket parks, we had solutions for dealing with aquatic biodiversity and its improvement, the control of surface runoff quality, for example. We thought about the groundwater abstraction for water, certainly, but also for energy and different greenery elements, nexus, and reducing of risk of communicative, I'm not sure how to pronounce, diseases, and also creating the conditions for abstractions of potable water. Of course, the air pollution control and different monitoring system, but also recharging electronic devices, spots. That was the one of the elements we thought could be combined in our demo sites. And of course, we were thinking about not using only one NBS in a specific site, but combining different elements to really tackle specific concerns that and specific issues that we have in our cities. And we have different partners in the project, and it was already mentioned, but where I would like to put the stress, it is that the partners are very different, not only geographically, as it could be seen, but also for their expertise. So we have the partners as academic institutions, as one that I'm representing here today, Imperial College, but we also have Anja's institution, which is the Faculty of Civil Engineering of Belgrade. We have University of Warsaw. So there is a support of academic knowledge in the project. We have, of course, cities, most importantly, but we have also the technology providers, which are supporting the monitoring and the work of whole project. We started the project without seeing each other live. It was a very peak of lockdowns period and COVID issues. Once we met, we were, of course, very happy, and actually it changed dynamics of the project because, of course, knowing the people with whom we work made our working process more, not only more pleasant, which is absolutely true, but also it made it more efficient and productive. So Vasilis already showed you our cities. I'm just adding here a couple of more pictures to stress the diversity of demo sites we've been dealing with, and diversity from different aspects, from aspect of geographic conditions and climatic that are very obvious, but also of the problematics that each of the demo sites in our cities have been demonstrating, also different by size. We have here Gladsack's example before we saw Łódź, and Gladsack's is a relatively small demo site with problematics linked to initial low quality of empty spaces that are present, with some qualities of greenery, as we can see from this mapping of the existing elements there, but also with social issues that are present in this periphery of Copenhagen. Then we have a Greek demo site with different parts of it, with very lively part of Limassol in Piraeus, which is very different from what we saw in Copenhagen. And as you can imagine, the solutions that then we have been looking to use are very, very different. And they are different also in different parts of the city of Piraeus, where we have 3 demo sites. And of course, Belgrade, another typology of demo sites we have here. One is beloved place of people from Belgrade already, like the Ušće Park, but with its difficulties. And then the linear park, which is 5 kilometers long park imagined over the obsolete rail line, which is the typology of parks that have been used after the Industrial Revolution for the obsolete tracks of or trains that are not used anymore to create parks. So with our project, we wanted to introduce the nature-based solution in the project that has been already developed by the city. And you see also all our follower cities. We had 5 at the beginning. One is not anymore active in our project, which is Fengji New City from China. So as I said, the solutions are always context-based in our approach, and to know better the context, we used really very different methodologies. So we had our questionnaires, we had the mapping by videos and by our partners in the city to really study different parts of the project and to understand what are local conditions and what are gaps to be filled in with the solutions in the public spaces that we have been working on. And it's been a long process at the beginning of the project where we also questioned ourselves what is the really impact that any of the possible requirements for the project have to the health and well-being. Is it direct or indirect? So we had different phases of analysis to then create the requirements for each of our demo sites, and then go through the processes that my colleagues will be showing you with more details that are really taking it to the realization that we are hoping to evaluate by the end of the project. And of course, our front-runner cities and follower cities are very different, and they have very specific requirements for the project. But also, we realized that there are some common project requirements, and those are linked for the necessity to improvement of existing green spaces, but then, of course, thinking in all the phases of the project of safety and security, shading areas, because we have, of course, issues with the urban heat island effect, and maintenance systems. We were very, very aware that the proper stewardship in the future, also after a project is ended, is something that is really important for the success of and more efficient benefits of any solution we might have. Over the project, we tested some of the possible scenario for our cities. We worked with our students, specifically this is from the works and master thesis of the project from Imperial College, that also served as an additional dissemination of the project process and project dynamics to our students and future experts and specialists, but also it served to us to test different combinations of nature-based solutions and to share this knowledge with all our colleagues to then be able to use some of these results in the selection process of the MBSs. Of course, and more about this will be said in other in other presentations, we have different types of monitoring in our project to cover all 5 pillars Vasilis was talking about. So of course we had environmental monitoring with different in situ sensors and field surveys, but also public health and well-being monitoring through our supporting partners, technological partners that are providing variables and health applications, and of course social monitoring, thanks to work of all supporting partners in our cities, but also specifically thanks to our colleagues from social institutions that have been supporting the process of creation of questionnaires and analysis of the results. And here you just see some of the examples. And I would just, in the conclusion of this presentation, like also to show you the different stakeholder engagement activities that we have been working on over whole 4 years of the project, and now even more. And you can see this a graph on the left side. It is the timeline. It's something I've been living with over past 4 years, specifically for stakeholders involvement and our work through different canals to create this knowledge space from cities. And of course, there is one work package that is assigned for the stakeholders engagement strategy, but I would like to stress that only thanks to the strong collaboration with all partners and with all cities, it's been possible to understand better specific needs and requirements for each demo site or for each case study we've been working on. So it's really a team effort and ongoing process. There is always more to learn from the cities, and we have really wide range and variety of engagement activities from the frontal workshops like us now sharing our experience and the project process with you, but also of course direct engagement with citizens in different cities have been a great support for our project, but also gatherings of us partners. We are also very, very active stakeholders in the project, and we use each opportunity, as I mentioned, to each time learn more. So this is just to show you a different typologies of workshops and involvement and participation of different stakeholders from the planning authorities to the end users is something we've been working on. And we also are evaluating this process of engagement. How can we do it better? And we evaluate it, as you can see here, from the different criteria, how our project and also the engagement is coherent with other activities in the cities. What is the efficiency of the project, and what is the extent to which actually the activities are delivered or likely to be delivered, what is the impact and the relevance of the projects. And we also, of course, learn from positive elements, but we also know that there are problematics in some of the cities. So we had a quite evident frustration in engagement with residents. For example, in Glansangse, the people initially didn't want to know that much about the project, and only thanks to an incredible effort of our partners in situ there and support from the municipality, we actually created that dialogue. And we have organizational issues in Vuj with the process of planning, but we also had some positive knowledge and positive raising of awareness of the importance of nature-based solution introduction in the city. What was appreciated, for example, in Palermo was the holistic approach that covers all different fields from social to actually health here. And this is from Limassol, the importance of knowledge of environmental elements awareness. And recently we had a similar workshop also in Trebinje, and we learned how euPOLIS project has been important for other programs in the city, for the tree planting and so on. And this continuous assessment we have been doing over the last 3 years now, which help us to focus on specific issues and create our put our maximum effort on the challenges, and of course understanding and learning from each partner city what are the positive aspects and how they achieved it to then apply it in other cities. And those are just examples of different stakeholders we have been working in making more active in our project. And then we introduced also the scoring of this effectiveness of euPOLIS engagement approach to understand what went well in each cities, and to question ourselves why maybe in other cities is not like that, and then to see also this comparison and analyze comparatively these scores in different both frontrunner cities and also in follower cities. As we said, it's a really reciprocal process, and we learned each time a lot from our follower cities. And you can even notice from this comparative analysis that the scoring in our follower cities is in medium higher than in our frontrunner cities. So this is also for us another question to ask ourselves. And of course, and in the very conclusion, I would like just to say that we've been working a lot in dissemination of our work, because through this dialogue creation is how we tried always to improve the project. And of course, you will hear from Aleksandra. We have partners that are specialists in the dissemination that have been doing an incredible work for the knowledge sharing of our project, but also all other partners through conferences, scientific conferences like in our case, but also through the meetings like today's one. We tried always to share and to learn each from other in a way to make our project more successful in each part and in each demo site and case study we've been working with. Thank you very much for the attention, and yeah, if there are any questions, I'm happy to reply now. I will be leaving sooner before the end, but I'm sure our colleagues will cover any question that might be raised. And thank you.
Thank you, Stanislava, for this great presentation. So I think we will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, but if anyone wants to raise a hand to ask a question now, because I think there has been a lot of information and very insightful. I'm very interested also to learning more about the challenges you have faced in citizen participation, because I think this is one of the biggest issues we deal with all the projects, and how to bring people and adopt any nature-based solutions by creating parks or so on.
Oh, yes, Maria, it's an excellent question. And as you see, we underlined this difficulty. And in each city, it went very differently. And even the solutions had to be found in a very, very bespoke way, because the differences are cultural, are of typology of the part of the city that we have been working with. And even if participatory processes, for example, in countries like Denmark are at a very high level, we found, and specifically our colleagues from Gladsaxe have found it so difficult to make to take people on board in participate. They invented all kind of barbecue events to try to attract their cities. I'm joking, but not only, because there were actually the real barbecues in the community to try to create this interaction, because it's not a top-down process, like we are teaching you something and we want you to know how it's good. It's also listening. And I think, and if I can suggest one method, it would be really to create this kind of events on basis of listening, and on basis of course, we are sharing our knowledge, and this is why we have training, and this is why we are lucky to have all experts you can see on the screen now. But it is also about listening, and this is what I personally learned, that if you approach from this side, that you would actually like to know more from the users, this is how they more easily open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Anya, please, yes.
Can I maybe just add, because as Stanislava mentioned, we really had very different crowds in different cities, and I can give you an example of Belgrade, where we had a crowd which has huge distrust to the local authorities. And with them, we had to work by having a lot of experts, like somehow neutral people, providing them with some visuals, with some evidences of how certain solutions can work. And it's very important to have a feedback, like not just to have one workshop, but then to have this continuous dialogue with the community, and that actually helps improve the trust. And if you have the trust, then you have like the eagerness to participate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And because in Limassol Municipality we have projects for creating parks. And one of the things that we are thinking is, how do you make people feel that this is their own park and they also have to maintain it and protect it later? But I think this might be one of the things that Penelope, my colleague, will discuss later on. So thank you for the presentation, Stanislava, and we can now move on to Anya Ranielovic. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so for her presentation on the right to healthy cities.
Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So Maybe we haven't coordinated very well this presentations, because maybe I will just give a brief thing that Stanislav already said and which Vasilis already mentioned, but I think it's good to have it like now that you have my 15 minutes maybe. So please please bear with me. So as we mentioned, all the cities, not just in Europe, but across the world, face the major challenges, which include that you have more and more people living in a certain area, that you have to provide different services to the people. You know, you have to provide them with housing, transportation, and all this puts a lot of we use a lot of impervious materials, a lot of materials which are reflective of heat, to keep it in the city, and therefore it's very hard to make good planning to provide environments that support good health and well-being. The conventional urban planning approaches usually are just for profit, and I guess I can say this for all the countries that we have worked in, and usually lack this putting this focus on some benefits that we can get from public spaces, which are related to health, to well-being, to have some economic benefits or some social benefits as well, some community places for people to have it as their local space. And because we do not ask people that much during the planning phase, like what would they want, we actually miss to introduce their needs into this planning. And we make maybe these fantastic solutions, which are maybe even costly, but as Maria, you mentioned, are not owned by the people. They don't feel like it's their space, and therefore they don't use it. So it's basically a waste of money. So what we, under this project, try to do is to introduce a systematic health and well-being planning criteria. And in this, we wanted to work a lot with the community in different stages of the planning procedure, and also to use different innovative tools and not just digital tools. I mean, we are all very hyped on digital, but also to use a dialogue, to use many different types of, I don't know, workshops, focus interviews, or so on, some type of interaction with the people. We have also introduced, as Stanislava mentioned, different type of interoperable and replicable integrated nature-based systems that can be used as a planning standard at small scale or large scale, depending on what you needed. And all that we needed to assess how these interventions that we have planned with the people have actually managed to affect the challenges that we have identified previously on each of the sites. I must mention, because the major point of our project is the health. And to introduce the health, there are many studies that show that by bringing nature back to the city, you can actually have some effects on the health. This has to do with first having the greening places. You have people doing more physical activity and coming into contact with different types of flora and fauna. And this helps both the physiological health, so the physical health, but also the mental health, because the anxiety and the stress levels actually get decreased by being in contact with such diverse plant species or animal species. I also have to mention that the soil biodiversity, although it's very, like you wouldn't think about it, but it's actually very beneficial also for our health, because by having good soil health, you actually have good plants, and it can this self-sustained soil can actually help in controlling different types of soil-borne pathogens or even some pests, and therefore lessen the prevalence of allergic diseases. And this has all been studied before, but now we're trying to introduce it as an urban planning standard. However, I need to mention that bringing the greenery into urban spaces can also have some negative health outcomes. And these negative health outcomes, for example, increase of allergies. I mean, if you bring more flowers to the city, more I don't know what's the name of topola, in like that tree which has a lot of little thingies, you can actually cause allergies to people. Well, the mitigation measure is first to a good selection of the linden. A good selection of the tree species, and also to have good maintenance program to prevent spread of different other types of negative outcomes. What we have under euPOLIS identified with the help of forestry engineers is that different types of vegetations can have very different types of functions. And we use these trees, these shrubs, this type of vegetation as sort of solutions. For example, you see here are the Latin names. I hope you can maybe see them as what they are, that you can maybe I don't know, recognize them. Some of them might be even in your cities. They can be very effective in mitigating the heat island effect by providing a shade, but also by providing enough humidity to not have so that they provide evaporation in a way that it can actually mitigate the heat island effect. Some of them can be very effective for air purification, to improving air quality, and so on. So what we have done here, and this is just one small part of the site in Belgrade, we actually planted different trees. So the green ones, the yellow ones, the red ones are different types of vegetations which are placed in certain places, oriented in a certain way to, for example, provide the wind coming from this side, which is a hot wind in Belgrade, to get cooled by passing through this vegetation and to have very pleasant feeling in this side of the park. So that in this area you have more socializing spaces. You have a shade by having some tall trees, but also these are like some sort of a filter, some sort of an air conditioner during the summer months. During the winter months, on the other hand, you have some which are stopping the northern wind, the northern wind. So you have a bit more warmer place in the park, so that even during the winter months, you might have some people using it very happily, even though you might have cold winds. Another very nice site in Belgrade is the Linear Park, which Stanislava mentioned. And here the experiment was to use different types of vegetation which can improve cardiovascular, metabolic, and mental health. So different types of vegetation release biologic volatile organic compounds, which are shown to be effective for cardiovascular disease or for respiratory, for your respiratory system. For example, like when you inhale, when you do those inhalations in your home. Well, here you have a whole area of the park where you can get inhalations from the plants which are planted there. In addition to this greenery, the nature-based solutions can address the different challenges that we might have in the cities, such as the urban floods or as I mentioned, the air quality or the water quality. The urban heat island effect, as Vasilis mentioned. I don't know whether in Limassol you have this urban heat island effect, so whether you have a dense part of you have a heat island as such, but probably in the city center with the buildings, mostly concrete and glass buildings, you might have very extreme cases of elevated temperature, which can be mitigated by using different types of greenery, either as green roofs, which can also mitigate urban flooding, which I don't know whether in Limassol you might have this trouble with during the during the rainy season. But in general, even you can use it just as an insulation, sort of, for both of the building, but also for the outside, because this greenery wall or green terraces or something like that can actually improve the microclimate all around the building. And of course, you can provide many different functions. I don't know, the socialization, recreation of people. And even we have a partner in euPOLIS who does the vertical farming. It's very interesting for the people, you know, to have their own little gardens of, I don't know, aromatic plants or tomatoes or whichever are the plants which can survive without being stolen in the parks. These are some large-scale interventions that can be done. This is an ecosystem restoration in Singapore, or because we had we have a partner from Colombia. I decided to take the example from Medellin, which was also a great restoration of the city, using tree pits and rain gardens to deal with the urban flooding. Now, because the idea is to see how well the interventions that we put in the place can actually impact how they can solve the challenges, the concerns that we have identified on the site, we needed to develop a very systematic monitoring system. And this systematic monitoring system actually has to monitor the different aspects of health. So here we have divided it into the subjective assessment of health, using different types of surveys, questionnaires, to get the people's perceptions, attitude, experiences. Then we used some more objective instruments. We use the network of environmental sensors to get what is the microclimate, the temperature, the humidity, the rainfall, to get what is the air quality, water quality in certain places. We did biodiversity studies, and this is very, you know, for this you need very high expertise people, a lot of resources, you need the analysis done, but it's an evidence that you can show to the people and convince them that, okay, this is working. I mean, you see a drop in temperature, you see improvement in air quality, and so on. What we also use, and I think this is very innovative for the project, is to use smart health wearables to get the physiological parameters of the people. So people would wear bracelets that get their physiological parameters, such as the pulse, or I don't know, respiration levels, or levels of physical activity, sleep quality, and so on. And together with the location services, you can say, okay, because this person has been in contact with the new park with some extreme greenery in a shaded area and so on, his or her pulse has dropped, the average pulse has dropped, or I don't know, respiration is better, the sleep quality has improved, and so on. And another type of wearables, which so the physiological health you can measure with any type of the smart watches that you have on the market. If you want, I don't know, if you want all of the different parameters, you have to get a more expensive one, but like the basic parameters, I think most of them can do it. But then we also have a proprietary, very like innovative bracelet, which actually does the psychological assessment, meaning that people who wear it can, this wearable can assess whether these people are more joyful, whether they are, I don't know, happy. And I'm a stupid engineer, so I don't know what's the difference between joy and happy, but apparently there is in psychological terms. So it gathers all the different data about your pulse, about your skin conductance, about the ambiental temperature, and says, okay, you are under stress. You're under stress because it's too hot, or you're under stress because you have some internal stuff that's happening in you, and this is something that we need to Sorry, this is my kid. Having said that, we need people to do this type of monitoring. But people are not just that. I mean, again, as an engineer, I would use them just to get the data, but they are much more in this process. We are completely dependent on them in different stages. And in different stages, to have people to participate with you in creating these interventions, first you need to... Okay, so hello. I did it. Sorry about it. It's a strange day today. You have to provide them with enough information so that they know what are the planned activities, how they can join. You know, people mostly don't know the procedures. This is to provide them with the opportunity to get involved. And you can use different types of communication tools. And I'm sure that Aleksandra will talk much more about the different communication tools that we use across the project, but in general, online and offline, the different types of tools. Then we do the consultations with them. And this we did mostly through workshops. And at the beginning of the project, they were online, sorry, because we had the COVID epidemic. And later they were online, and the online are way more interactive. You know, you can feel the atmosphere in the room or in the public space, and you know, to organize a bit the different details of the workshop. Then together with the citizens, so you have to have informed citizens, you have to do the consultations with them, and you have to trust them that they will make good decisions. I must say, for the good decisions, you need to raise their education level about certain things, and you cannot ask them just anything. I would say still experts need to decide on some of the functions, but like for the aesthetics or something like that, you can actually get some very meaning we're experts. Like, you cannot ask them about the technology stuff. You ask them like what they want in general regarding the technology that they want to be implemented on the space. And in the end, so with the co-decision, they also share this responsibility, you know, and you build kind of with each step, you build this ownership, and then you kill it. I mean, it's at max when you use them for the monitoring, because by monitoring, so by using the smart bracelets or by them seeing visuals from the environmental sensors, they see what they have planned, whether it's actually working. And this monitoring can be very expensive, but it can be very low, but still informative enough so that you have this evidence base and you have this trust in the process. What we now are doing is, because we are currently in euPOLIS in the phase where we are doing the interventions. In some of the cities, we have finished the interventions, so we are doing the monitoring post-interventions. And what we want to see is the before and the after, and to compare the two. And we can do it across different categories. And I don't know, the blue one is the before, so it's small, everything was bad. And the orange one, it's like super, everything improved. Of course, not everything is going to improve, and we need to analyze why hasn't everything improved. But this is just like how our diagrams will look in the end. And if I have a few more minutes, I just want to show you a very interesting tool developed under euPOLIS, which is the game for each of the sites. And it can be used very effectively for citizen participation. And so you enter the game, you select which city you want to play with. We go to the Laveri coast because, yeah, it's the Greeks who did the game. So, yeah, And here we are at Ralio school, and we can see the school backyard. And here we can play with different types of vegetation. You put a bit of plants here, put a bit of plants there. And here you can see how it influences the user comforts. And in addition to seeing, you know, how your place will look like, because not all people can think abstractly, especially not the kids, because what we did is we did it with the kids, and it was very interesting for them how they have participated in, you know, creating their own backyard. It's like you can visualize it. It's more convincing than just showing technical drawings of stuff or just rendering. The main drawback of this game is that, of course, it's a digital stuff. So whoever is digitally challenged will have troubles with using it, but it's a totally new way of communicating with some of the people, and I mean kids. And that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya, for the presentation. I find everything very interesting. I also found very interesting when you mentioned about the type of trees and the quality for each one that you would consider. Did you find any differences for the locality of these trees for each country?
To be honest, we haven't. So, like, I don't know. Let's take one. Pinus. We haven't used it in all locations, so I'm not sure. But in general, you would use your local vegetation. So what works in Poland will not work in Cyprus. What works in Belgrade might work in Cyprus, but we have you would have to check. But like these plants are good for these functions in Belgrade. In Limassol, maybe there are better trees to get a pedestrian shade, like trees which are more local, which are, more sustainable in your climate, that can provide identical function or even a better function than this one. Probably this one can also survive in Limassol, but there is probably a better tree. So for this, to answer your question completely, so we haven't checked this across the different cities, but we have worked in all the sites with local engineers, forestry engineers, or how is it called? People who work with vegetation, who plan the vegetation. We worked with them to select what are the best plants for them.
Okay. Did you also look at the CO2 that can be absorbed from this type of trees? Because you are focusing on the health and the well-being impact, but it can also work as seed.
So because of the duration of the project, we might not, we can measure them. We have the laboratory to measure like how much of the CO2 has been captured by the trees, but in the planning procedures, we mostly did it by, let's say, expert knowledge and literature review, like how much you would expect that this type of a tree under these conditions would take CO2. But we do have an air quality station which monitors the aspects of the air quality index parameters, European Air Quality Index parameters. So the answer is no, we haven't checked the CO2, we just modeled it. But it would be interesting, especially over a longer period, to see like whether what they capture is what you get from the literature. And just one more comment, what we have planted are mature trees. To have the most effect during the project lifetime, we decided to use the most mature trees that they had in the an So not to start from a small tree and then wait 10-15 years to get an effect.
We can take a question from Thanasis.
Yes, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
One challenge that has been presented to us, and we have not dealt with it, is that since trees are planted for the long term, we cannot count on today's climate. We should be seeing trees that will stand the unfortunately expected higher temperatures. Have you dealt with that?
That's true. What we are doing right now is to see these extreme scenarios that we can expect in different sites and see how these particular interventions will behave, with, I don't know, in some of the sites, it's heavier rainfall. So whether these trees will actually, you can say, okay, well, I mean, it's heavy rainfall. Why would that be a problem? But well, it would be a problem if you don't have good drainage. They might rot the roots, or prolonged droughts. And you have it mostly in most cities. You have both stuff. You have both the heavy rainfall in a very short period, and you have a prolonged drought. So we are checking now this type of scenarios. I don't think that during the planning that you can actually do all that, because otherwise it will take you like 5 years just to plan. I think what you can do is to, and also this people participation, it also takes a lot of time. And here I might be a bit of a Nazi, but you have to put yourself a deadline for each of the, otherwise you can just do consultations forever. So you have to have a strict deadline until you need to produce some planning, and then to adapt the planning as the climate changes. The climate change, which we expect, might not be the climate change that happens. So in that case, you have to be flexible and adaptable, to provide both additional water, or I'm just speaking in very simple stuff, like additional water or more drainage to have the vegetation work. We even have extreme winds sometime, also as part of the climate change, because the masses from the north and the south have changed so substantially that you have something like tornadoes in this area, which we didn't have.
Okay, so thank you, Anya, for this presentation. And now we can move on to Aleksandra Malušev for the public engagement and creation of communities.
Thank you, Maria. I was a bit anxious already because listening to both Stanislava and Anya, I got so many cues, and I realized that I wanted to talk about so many things. And when someone first raised the question, it was you. I think about how to engage people and how to get them involved throughout the process. I was like, my turn, please. Many people here obviously know me. I'm with the MIKSER Association from Belgrade, and we have quite some experience with creating communities in, let's call them, unlikely environments, and sometimes maybe a bit hostile environments. We used to run 2 MIKSER houses, one in Belgrade and one in Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And if you know a bit of a history, you can imagine how political and cultural circumstances might have put it in a past tense. And so we no longer have MIKSER house. But we also have a lot of experience, for example, during the 2015, during the huge migrations from the Middle East. A lot of people came through Serbia, so we had a huge refuge center that actually bridged the gap that the official, institutions and capacities simply could not live up to. So we were this bridge to help people, not just aid them with, bare necessities, but also try to incorporate them and make them part of the society, having different cultures, having different religions, and so on and so on. So we have a lot of experience, and we have a lot of muscle in doing these things. So I will try to be brief, and I will try to be effective, and I'm really open to all of your questions during my presentation. So I have to say that my background is in journalism, so I have no problems being interrupted and picking up wherever I left off. So feel free to ask whenever and wherever. And during these 4.5 years in euPOLIS, we were in charge of the communication and dissemination, and one of our tasks was to create, it's not moving, I think, my presentation. It's not moving, right?
No.
Let's try it again. So one of our tasks was to create the euPOLIS guide for building communities and replicating them to other front runner and follower cities. My presentation is simply not moving because I'm talking so much, probably. Can you maybe share my presentation, because I don't know what's happening?
Let me try to find it.
Okay, not a problem.
Maybe.
Why is it so?
Click on the screen where the presentation is.
Yes, I am clicking. Oh, here it
It's
is.
working.
It's working. Thank you.
Okay.
So I did all the clicks, just not the right one. Okay, so this is the guide that we have prepared during the work in the euPOLIS, and it is based on the MIKSER house in Belgrade and in Sarajevo and Mikselište Refuge Center, but it's also based on all the experience and knowledge that we have gathered trying to implement the euPOLIS solutions into our 4 frontrunner cities. So also your experience is in this guide. So I will have to, it's not, okay. And basically, the purpose of this, guys, is to create a roadmap for you for replicating social, cultural, urban hubs in your environments to engage citizens and bring cultural innovation through this collaboration of unlikely partners in your neighborhood. And of course, we have tried to highlight a few like key elements for replication, the things that you absolutely need to get started with creating the community, having all the necessities, meaning the venue, all the capacities that you need to provide to have something like that. And I really don't have enough time to go through all the phases and all the steps that you need to take, but the guide is prepared, and in the end of the presentation, I will give you the QR code from which you can download the ready-made guide for you. What I have time for is to give you a little PR and media intro, which is somehow an integral part of the guide, and to try to explain and describe why PR and the communication with media is important for whatever you do. Whether you're working in a municipality, of course, if you're working in a municipality, you don't have any problems with, having developed PR activities and media contacts and so on and so on. But if you are any other kind of, urban planner, environmental expert, social expert, if you are just a concerned individual and good neighbor that is trying to change things around in their neighborhood, you will probably need a bit of help with this. So what is a peer strategy and why it is so important? Strategy in when you have a cause and you want to advocate for something and you want to reach some goals in your environment, peer strategy is important because without a strategy is much like talking without being sure if anyone is listening to you, much like myself right now, because I can only see my screen and I can hear my voice, but I'm not sure whether you're listening, whether you're preparing lunch with your, screens and cameras being down. So you have to have strategy because you want to define your target groups. You have to be sure from the beginning who are you talking to and what are you telling them, because not all of your audiences need and can hear the same story. Of course, the goal of the story and the moral of the story is always the same, but you don't speak the same way to school kids and doctors, obviously. And in this stage, when you have, let's call it a cause, you have a goal, you have something you want to achieve in your environment, of course, you're being emotional about it. But when preparing a strategy, and this is why the strategy is for, you have to put those emotions down and you have to plan step by step in order to, of course, answer all the challenges that may come your way in trying to implement and achieve your goal. So what you need to do when you put your emotions aside is to answer a few really simple questions, but you really have to work for them. And the questions are, like I said, really, really, natural. What is the problem? What is it that you have noticed in your environment, be it neighborhood, being, work environment, whatever it is, that you see as a problem, challenge, an issue, a future issue, how it can be solved? What does it take you to do so? What are you going to do about it? And why are you called to do it? Why are you the person to do it? And what do we, the rest of us who join you and decide to trust you, what do we get from that? Can we have a simple example? You live in a neighborhood in a multi-story building and you see that simply the children playground is really devastated, that all the toys are broken, and the only visitors of the playground are some, potheads in the evening that not only are not invited there, but they also create additional social issues and drama around your building. So this is the challenge and the problem that you have noticed. How can it be solved? Well, it can be solved through, you know, repairing the playground, maybe putting some nice fence that is not aggressive, that is simply just saying this is for the kids, not for anyone else. Then maybe some patrols that the municipality can provide for you. So this is what it takes. What am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to gather my neighbors and tell them, look, this is a problem. This is happening in front of our windows. So, and the next thing, we gather up and we petition in front of the municipality, ask for help, offer different solutions to them so that we can work together with the municipality so that the municipality gives us the solution that we need. And what do we get after that? We get a playground for children that is safe, that is inviting, that, you know, where our children, they're usually grandmas and grandpas and parents that are hanging around and they're socializing and they're creating completely different environment that it was, I don't know, month or 2 months ago. And when you finally manage to answer all these questions, these will help you not to get confused throughout your campaign and all the future calls to action and everything you need to do. You will never get confused by any questions by the authority, by the, I don't know, media representative. You will have always everything on point when you know the answers to these questions. And to get there, you really have to set the tone, because attention is, of course, earned. Not, you cannot demand it. You can, but it is a question whether someone will respond in a desired way. So, in order to gather your citizens, your neighbors, and get them engaged around the cause and the purpose, you have to raise interest. You have to show them that this is about them, that they can both benefit from the change, but they can also really suffer from not changing, not doing anything. And you have to give them a bit of a fresh perspective. So don't tell them, look how we live bad, this is a poor condition, this is awful, this is that, but empower them. Give them an option to choose for themselves. Give them an option to do their best to contribute to the change that all of you want. So give them space and give them time to speak their minds, because everyone knows something. And one of our biggest campaigns during the euPOLIS project was the citizen scientist and citizens hand in hand with scientists, because really I don't have to be urban planner, I don't have to be environmental scientist to notice a problem in my environment and to know best what would work for me. What do I need in my environment to feel better, to feel safer, to have, you know, a decent life? Whatever you do during your campaign, you cannot criticize, you cannot complain, you cannot blame, and do not beg for help. Of course, these things are somewhat implied when you know, stand in front of a camera or you're writing your press release, of course, that you are criticizing the existing situation, you're complaining about, but never pointed to a certain person and a certain institution per se before it's really, you know, it's, if the things are so aggressive and so out of line, of course, you're going to point out. But in the normal PR strategy and activities, simply do not do that. And you can use, there are different stages of PR strategies, and in the beginning, it can only be teasing. So you're not planning any public activity. You don't have an obvious call to action, but you have an idea. You have, you know, you have become aware of what's happening in your environment. You have a group of people who are ready to support you, but you don't really have an action in front of you. What you can do is an informal, call it informal, group of citizens. Everyone has an expertise in something. You need to recognize, all of you among yourselves, and when the social problem occurs, when something happens, you can offer specialists, you can offer experts to talk about an issue. You can get in touch with media, if you can, we get there, and point out the problem, the global problem around your topic. Not if you're dealing with a playground, of course, it's too small for a national coverage media, but you know, you can start the topic on social media, get people aware of the existing challenges, so you can offer different kind of interviews and articles from the experts on the topic. That's just teasing, that's just raising awareness, without getting involved people into your concrete topic that you're dealing with. So when you have your call to action, when you're planning your event, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a survey that's happening online or in space, you have like 2 or 3 press releases that you have to send out to media, and you have to really see your position, where you stand. Is your issue really national level? Is your issue like municipal level? Is it regional? Whatever it is, and you focus on the media that cover your space. So you don't go national if your problem is really, really local, and there are still ways and there's still time to solve your problem locally. So you send your press to all local media few days after the official campaign is starting. You are informing the media, and practically you are not expecting anything from them. You're not even expecting them to post anything yet, maybe. Second press, you send again to all local media. Let's stick to local issues about the kickoff of the campaign, or if you use the first press release to invite them to some event, then you use the second to, you know, share the results that you achieved so far. So imagine you have a sort of a survey going on, and 2 weeks after you want to share the results, and you want to say, hey, there's only 3 more days left. We have so far these results. So many people said this, and these people said that. This is your final chance to have your say in this. So sharing the results, and again inviting people to join your cause in a way. And towards the end of the campaign, you can also add, this is the emergency element, only two, I already mentioned it, but you can use for example, the third press release to give the final results, to share all the insights that you gained, and you can announce your next step that you will take to change what is it that you're advocating for. And this is about the structuring the press release. This is something that I've struggled the most during this project, because obviously a lot of scientific partners in this, and there's a different logic and there's different, you know, philosophy behind writing a scientific paper and writing a PR press release, because journalists and PRs are not talking exclusively to experts and doctors and really highly educated people for your niche. We are trying to spread the idea and the awareness to really everyone. So if a child grabs the newspapers or opens a portal, we need to be so comprehensive that you know, school child can get at least the big idea about what are you talking about. So you can't use big words, you can't use like, you can't go for really too long press releases and so on and so on. And there are really simple questions and how to avoid really boring and really too long press releases that not even journalists will be able to open, not because they don't want to, but because the journalism is now such a profession that you really don't have time to stay with one thing for too long. And I'm saying we because I'm still feeling like once a journalist, you're always a journalist. So I'll just use that. We don't go outside as much as before, and we don't have as many opportunities to really talk to people, but we have become so-called Twitter journalists. We sit in our offices and we practically have to share everything that someone famous has said on their social media. And we're paid practically by the amount of things that we share. So it's not fair, it's not humane, but this is the reality that you have to know if you're trying to reach out to a journalist. We're consumed by the number of things that are happening in the social media, that are happening in competition newspapers and portals and so on and so on. So we are like little octopi with so many hands trying to grasp everything. So when you are sharing your press release, you have to put your crucial information, your big news, everything you want to say. You have to try to put it in a first sentence, or at least in a first paragraph of your press release, simply answering who did what, when it happened, how it happened, and why, and what are we doing about it now. So when you put those questions on a paper and you start filling out your story, you will have your press release in no time. Then after that initial paragraph, you can go deeper about the circumstances, explain your story wise and how behind the scene. And then you go to less important info, but there, it's still explaining the setting and the emotion and the color and the temperature of the events. And all other details you put towards the bottom of the press release. Why? Even when you know a journalist, even when your journalist is really committed to your cause, and let's imagine the journalist works in a print media, and they say, okay, I'm putting your press release, I'm publishing it. I have a lot of space. You can send me pictures. Da, 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 da. In the afternoon, the editor shows up and tells the journalist, oh, look, we have this advertisement came up. And then we have another advertisement. And from a double page, you have like this or this. Your space is becoming smaller and smaller. And the journalist usually doesn't have time to read and recompose everything that you put so beautifully. But the only thing that we can do is really like use an X and cut off, cut off, cut off. When I come to the first paragraph, I need to have this full information for you to be published at all. So this is important to structure your press releases in such a way. And this is what happened to me. I'll try to be really honest with you and share the lessons learned, sometimes the harder way during this project. So this was one of my press releases intended to invite people to a workshop. The banner says you're an expert too. And with this press release, we were trying to get people to come to our demo location and fill out the survey that we needed to disseminate. And of course, when you're a communication person, you have to do a lot of consultation with the experts in the project. And they really did not approve of my how should I say this, simplification of the project, because I was having in mind the readers and the people who may not know much or anything about the nature-based solutions and the demo location and what all these things mean. So they started packing my press release in a really different way and started making it look more like a scientific paper. And when you start reading it, you see that no one, a musician wouldn't understand it, and musician might be really interested in their local environment and the place where they live, their neighborhood, and so on and so on, but no one would understand it. So what I did, because I didn't have much time to quarrel around, I listened to what they said, but I used this little prerogative. I highlighted the most important part of the press release for the journalist to be, when you open this page, you have this beginning, okay, but this is blinking, something is happening here, so okay, this is the most important part. So when you, due to different reasons, cannot follow this simple reverse pyramid methodology of writing, you use simply visual coding to draw attention to what's most important. And when you're sending your press release to media, always try to include good photos, graphs, whatever you have for them. If it's printed media or if it's online, whatever, they need a lot of visual material for it to be not just more interesting, but the online media, they live off advertisements, of course, and you have to find visual ways to break your scroll of text to put advertisements and so on and so on. So you're making their life easier when you're sending good materials, but also you're raising your prospects in being published when you're sending good material. Also, please never send a PDF of press release. We really want simple Word document text so we can pick up chunks of text and use it the way we need it. Don't get mad if we change your wording, if we change your text, if we add something, call a different person to comment on your press release or anything. Just be grateful for being published and for your idea being put out there. This is all great. So many of my colleagues had a lot of comments in the beginning of the project when I told them, when you get the contact with a journalist, always leave your email, always leave your phone number when you're sending press releases. And they said, oh, I don't want to leave my number. What if they call me? Yes, you want them to call you. There are really light chances of them calling you back, but you really want them to. So this is the goal. And rest assured, journalists will never call you just for any reason. They will call you if they have extra questions, if they want an interview with someone, if they want to expand your story to something more serious. So please really just leave your contact. This is the second step, actually. Many people starting their organizations from a grassroots do not have any contacts with media, and it seems like an iceberg, but it's really not, because every online media and every print media have contacts at the end of their publications, website, whatever it is. So you just go for contact or impressum, and you can find all the major emails and addresses that you need to start your campaign and to start communicating with media. You can also, if you have some budget, you can of course buy media contacts from marketing agencies from your niche. Those lists are updated and really valuable, and it makes your life easier that much because you don't have to browse yourself. But you can, and also, regardless if you live in New York, Belgrade, or Limassol, I'm challenging you right now. If you think in your closest vicinity you must know a journalist, or if you don't know a journalist, your aunts knows a journalist, or you have someone who has someone who's a journalist. This is really not that hard, and whatever that journalist is covering, they will, I promise you, they will help you get in touch with their colleagues. So we always like new stories, fresh perspectives, and we always need new experts on different topics, so that we it's really bad when a journalist keeps calling one person for this topic, because people who follow and who are involved start asking, is this really the only person that can talk about this? Is there someone else who can talk about film and novelties in culture but this person? So we always look for different sources. I already mentioned, and you should always send your press release to the identified media contacts. Personalize the subject line in introduction to grab their attention. Please really do not send the press release like "Dear All." They're not dears, they're not all. They're individuals with their specific, characters and approaches to their work, and the circumstances in each media office is so different that you really you need to try to be personal and to get to the person, not just some, picture of what media office looks like and how it works. When you send your press release, you should really follow up with a phone call or additional email to, remind the person that you have sent something and that you're really expecting some kind of feedback from them. And you should always try to build a relationship and follow up, because establishing relationships with the media representatives is crucial, because media is one of your probably most important stakeholders in your environment, because they can help you spread the word, and people have both trust and distrust the media, but they follow and they read and they stay in touch by reading media. So you really need them to be your friends, to trust you, and to commit to your cause. You should always check up with them whether they need an extra information, extra photo, or whatever it might be. And I'm sure that my colleague Penelope is going to tap more into it, but this is really just a wrap up of setting the tone that I've mentioned before, about not complaining, about keeping the positive outlook on things and encouraging people. But I will give her the floor and more time for this. And this is just a quick overview of what we have done for just one workshop that we had in Belgrade. So we, of course, contacted the media offices, and this is also one of the ways to reach out to journalists by paying advertisements, because when you pay advertisement for a newspaper, you can easily ask the marketing person to connect you to the journalist, and they will love it and they will gladly do it. So do not worry. We try to employ all of our local partners, social media platforms, website, everything that all of us had at the point, to spread the information about the event taking place, and also spread the survey that we had going on. We had the online and offline service. Online tools are really great, and then they help you reach out to more people, but you should really be aware of the challenges around the digital literacy and the access to different tools. So the digital tools should be only an enhancement, but not the basis that you're counting on. We invited volunteers, but they were not just any volunteers. We tried to get as many architecture and urban planning students, because not only we wanted physical help from them, but we wanted to engage younger audiences and young experts in the topic to get them interested in nature-based solutions and the methodologies around the euPOLIS project. We did a lot of printing, as much as we tried not to, because, dealing with sustainability and being aware of how waste is produced and what's happening to all these things, especially in areas like Serbia, when these things are not really regulated, we try to stay modest as much as possible, but we did have a few posters for the hallways of the nearby buildings and so on, trying, of course, through QR codes to provide more information on digital platforms. We used posters and this atlas of plans that Tanya already mentioned, not only to brand the place where the workshop has taken place, but also to make it more didactical material so that it can be used again and again, and it's valid and it's not just simply thrown away. When you're having, especially in an open area, when you're having this type of workshop, you can't count on the laboratory circumstances. So you really have to take care of different needs of the people that might join your workshop. So they need to be comfortable to sit. They have to be covered if they're, with their children or whatever. They need to be in a way entertained. They have to have refreshments and different types of commodities in the area. Of course, you have to plan a lot with all your partners, who can provide what, who can invite whom, and so really know your team. Like I mentioned before, this is the QR code which you can use to download the existing guide for replicating and creating communities. On the left-hand side, you can find our social media, where you can, catch up with us and get more information. And I'll be happy to hear any questions from you now.
Thank you, Aleksandra, for your presentation. If anyone wants to ask something, you can raise your hand or just open your mic. I personally find very interesting to learn more about the press releases and the marketing strategies we can use to disseminate scientific results in a broader populations, so that this can be understood easily. So yeah.
I wasn't planning on speaking poorly about my colleagues, because during these 4.5 years, I really learned a lot from them, because this is not my regular niche. I was a journalist for 15 years, but I used to cover culture. So nature-based solutions and all this engineering mumbo jumbo was really confusing to me too. And I really had to listen to them carefully. And every single one of them is an extraordinary and really smart and really clever and hardworking person. But there's this thing that I already mentioned, is as if like they're writing those papers and they're speaking only to themselves and among themselves. So I got a comment from a person that I really respect and admire, that I'm lowering the scientific impact and value of the project by preparing press releases that are really simple language. And there's this, lack of understanding and the ability for storytelling, because you raise awareness not through sharing numbers. If you talk to people about billions and trillions, they don't know what it is. But if you start talking about gas prices, the days of vacation, the amount of bread on a monthly basis, they start to understand, because this is how they can relate to real life.
Yeah. Okay. Thanasis.
Aleksandra, thank you very much. A lot of the details, especially that you put in what you were saying, were interesting and very useful.
Thank you.
I would like to raise two issues that we have faced. One is starting from your example about the playground. You can get the people who are interested in the playground, but they are not the people who will destroy the playground.
Of course.
We have not managed to get the adversaries. We're talking about the climate crisis, and there are a significant minority who does not believe in it. And we want them in. We want them in our workshops. We want to understand what they say. And it has been very difficult to attract them, as well as very difficult to attract what is called the marginalized ones. And we write in our proposals that we are very inclusive and all this blah, blah. But in fact, we don't manage to be this. So this is one issue that I would like you to respond. The second issue is what someone once told me: I do not want 1,000 clicks. I want one understanding. So if you cannot publish this article, which does not have scientific language, but is longer, then don't publish it. I'm not interested in how many clicks I get. I'm interested in one understanding. So how do you respond to these two things?
Let's start with the second one, because I can't get out of the impression of the that the mass actually creates quality. So the quantity creates quality. You need quantity, meaning the number of clicks, to get to that one person that will click with understanding and that will really integrate what you're saying. So yes, you need a mass. I'm not talking about the length of the press release, but you need to find a way for your cause to be heard of. So if the traditional media and the official media is occupied by whatever it is, the reality is really harsh, and regardless of where you live, is it Serbia, is it Cyprus, whatever it is, the media is always occupied with something bigger than you. And it's always like that. But if you start your campaigns, your little campaigns through social media, through talking to people, organizing, it doesn't always have to be a workshop with a lot of, things around you. You can just sit on a bench in your neighborhood and start talking to people. I think this is not so foreign to people in Serbia or Limassol. I think we have it. Different cultures, different countries might find it, a bit challenging because of the different mentality. But I think this wouldn't be too hard over here. Are you still with me? I hope you are. So you really have to be okay with starting small, because as it grows, the media will catch up. Someone will recognize this journalist, some, aunt from a distance that will tell them, hey, this is happening on social media. This is basically what happened in Serbia. If you're following the news and if you know what's happening over here, this is really how we reach our freedom in a way, because the official media will never tell you what is happening, and we're really keeping and staying informed through social media. So do not disregard it as a really powerful tool to get to people. And for this, the first question, how to get different and unlikely partners to sit at the same table, this is something that can be done overnight. You can't really just decide to invite them and have them over. You have to work hard for it. And I think it was Nelson Mandela who said, okay, let's talk about what we have in common. They do not recognize, they do not admit that there is a thing called, climate change, and they
Μπορώ σε
always...
λίγο να έρθω. Σε λίγο, τώρα μου μιλάνε αυτή τη στιγμή.
Okay, so you have to find what do you have in common with them. They must be suffering from climate changes, whether it's their health, whether it's their local businesses changing and maybe falling apart. You have to find what do you have in common with them, what pains you the same way. You who believe in climate change and the minority or the majority, whoever it is, that don't believe in it. You must have, in a really local circumstances, there must be one common problem that you share. And when you identify that, you invite them around that topic and you slowly expand. Like I said, it can be done overnight. It can be done in one meeting. And please don't be afraid of a bit of, temper and voice and emotion shared, because nothing happens really so smoothly, especially when people have different, starting points. So it doesn't have to mean it's going to be nice and it's going to be like in pictures, like people talking and smiling. It can get rough, but really, it's an argument, and the goal of argument should not be to win, but to understand, really.
We are not afraid of arguments in the Balkans.
No, we're not. That's why I'm saying this.
Okay, so I think now we can move on, because we are over time. We can move on to the final presentation with our
That's me.
speakers.
I'm sorry, Maria.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay, with my colleague Penelope Vasquez-Hadjilyra and her presentation on Lemesos City Cooling Challenge for standardizing nature-based solutions, scalable, repeatable, transferable for a cooler Lemesos by 2030. Penelope?
So hi, everybody. The grand finale, let's say. I really wasn't sure how to approach this presentation. It's kind of rich. I will try and speed it up because I really do not want to tire you. But at the same time, I do enjoy storytelling. So this is a little bit of a story of the past few years of Limassol, what we've been up to and where we are right now. Let me just say that I am also an architect and I'm also researching urban commons and participatory processes. So all very interesting of what you already have been kind of mentioning. And just to add, I've been following euPOLIS. I really feel that you guys have been doing an amazing job. I wish I could have been more kind of engaged in this project. I really enjoy the whole process, and I'm looking forward to the final outcomes and, really kind of dive in all the deliverables and pick up on all the details you've experienced in the past few years. So let me just share my screen. No, I'm not sharing yet. Am I sharing?
Yes, it's
Yes, yeah.
And you can see the presentation, not my notes, correct?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Great. So our little e-mission labeled Limassol. Today I want to discuss a little bit with you about ideas on standardization of nature-based solution in order to have scalability, repeatability, and transferability for a cooler Lemesos by 2030, or maybe a cooler Cyprus by 2050. As I mentioned before, I'm an architect, a researcher, and project coordinator collaborating with Limassol Municipality. So just for those who don't know, this is Cyprus at the edge of the southern Eastern Europe, and Limassol is located right here. The municipality of Limassol lies between other neighboring municipalities. You can see them with the red line. And basically, this is what Limassol Municipality is at the moment. Limassol Municipality faces a lot of challenges as a city. It has a lot of traffic congestion. It hasn't really managed to implement solutions for it. It has a large port, the main port of the island. Therefore, there's a lot of air pollution. We have sea sea levels rising, degrading the coastlines. But one main characteristic, and the one that I wanted us to discuss today, is this image, the ratio of green versus the built environment. This is a big challenge for Limassol. Limassol is a city that was rapidly developed, rapidly built up, without a very strong, a very solid strategy on how to do that. There's a lack on of green spaces. I believe, like from the slide here, the WHO says that there should be 9 square meters per person. We do not have that, by no means. I think it's 1.8, yes, at this point, and it's probably even less right now, the ratio of green versus, in comparison to a person. And what does this create? The urban heat island effect. Before it was mentioned, and I said we are actually the urban heat island. We face great challenges due to this, and we need to really find solutions how to mitigate this problem. So because of all these aforementioned challenges Limassol is facing, the municipality decided to join the Climate Neutral and Smart Cities program in order to become one of the 112 cities that would kind of create strategies in order to find solutions for these type of challenges, and in order to lead to climate neutrality by 2030, and perhaps inspire the rest of the cities into finding their own solutions for the commitments of the EU for 2050. This participation had 3 phases. In phase number 1, we had to be selected as a climate neutral city. In phase 2, we had to create a climate city contract with the different portfolio of actions on how to achieve climate neutrality. And currently we're in phase C, during which we have to implement the different actions we co-designed with citizens, with stakeholders, with central government members, and so on. We had a lot of partners helping us in this journey, including Frederick University, the University of Cyprus, the Cyprus University of Technology, the Cyprus Institute, and these 4 as coordinators of different thematics, and within them, other universities and academics contributed in this whole task. Each of them had a thematic, whether it was energy, the built environment, circular economy, and so on, and they all collaborated with the Limassol Municipality in preparing the different actions for climate neutrality. So these are some images of the participatory processes. All we did was, it was a process of co-designing and selecting like the strong parts Limassol has. What do we want to keep? What do we want to change? And we prepared the climate city contract. So the aim is, as I said, to keep what needs to be kept and to change what needs to be changed in order to improve not only our climate targets, but also the quality of life of Limassol citizens. All of this was wrapped up in the climate city contract, as I mentioned. It was submitted to the EU, and then it was certified with the mission label. There was a beautiful, gathering. They gave us the label, and so yes, this is like me setting a little bit the context. By submitting our climate city contract, we kind of unlocked different funding opportunities. And one of them was a funding for pilot city projects. And this is where we bring our Lemesos City Cooling Challenge. We were inspired by the challenge of the urban heat island effect, and by the different and rich contents of our climate city contract. And we created the Lemesos City Cooling Challenge, which is basically targets to provide solutions for the urban heat island effect as a number one. And then it has different levels of innovation, one on how to we deal with this kind of technical problem. And then on the other side, how do we engage with the community and the locals in order for them to claim ownership on the solutions designed for this challenge? Our partners are the Limassol Municipality, the Cyprus Institute, the Cyprus University of Technology, the Scientific Technical Chamber of Cyprus, and Friends of the Earth Cyprus. So today I want to discuss what does it mean to standardize something. And this is basically standardizing the deliverables of this specific project. So what do I mean when I say standardization? Inspired by the process of bottom-up process of developing and implementing technical standards based on this agreement between stakeholders, we wanted to create a guide on how to best deal with the urban heat island effect. And why did we decide to create a standardization guides? And I'm saying guides because I will speak about two guides today. We believe that having this framework standardized gives us some sort of consistency, efficiency, and scalability in order to achieve the cooling targets and the net zero goals of Limassol. And by providing and developing guides, it would reduce fragmentation, and it will help the municipality have a like a fixed guide on how to align all of its projects. So even though the pilot project, it was regarding a specific area, the idea was to extract and standardize the information from that area in order to be able to replicate in future scenarios. So what is it that we wanted to standardize? One of the deliverables of the project was cooling open, small, public and private spaces. And when we speak about open, small, public and private spaces, we kind of delved into parks and parking spaces. So in order to achieve that, initially we had to establish a multidisciplinary technical committee. So who will be discussing about these subjects, who will be raising the important questions, and who will be helping develop the answers to them. Then we had to select a specific case study area. Why we selected it? We had, like, this technical committee had to kind of engage and decide why should this area be selected, why was it a point of interest, and after, exchange of ideas and so on, one area was selected in Limassol Municipality. It's called Zakaki, and this was used as a base to create our methodology and our guides. Then we had to specify what it is that we want to measure. So we're talking about heat, we're talking about air quality. So we had to specify what would be our measurement tools, and we list all the specifications, and we decide these will be the ones that we will use now and after our interventions. Then we collected a lot of data. There's a bit of some scary data here. We were taking measurements last year in June, I believe it was June, and it was also a period of what do you call it?
Heat wave.
Thank you, my dear. It was during the period of a heat wave, and we were taking measurements on also in a school that was actively it was like active. It wasn't holidays yet, summer holidays. So it kind of raised a lot of concerns regarding the conditions by which students attend these schools. these environments, these hot environments. So yeah, we created measurements, we collected data, we created a digital twin of some sort of the case study, and we kind of placed all the data there in order to have a base. And then we started simulating in this twin in order to get some sort of scenarios, different simulations of the different scenarios. And then we communicated these results with the different stakeholders and citizens. And I mean, we have these co-design solution workshops during which we were able to communicate certain elements. And then we designed standardized guides for cooling. One was for parks, and the one guide, it's for designing small to medium-sized sustainable urban parks from 1,000 to 4,000 square meters in order to combat urban heat island effect in Lemesos. And I mean, I didn't want to share the entire guide, but the main strategies for it's how do we use shading, how do we use strategic planting in order to shade and cool, what kind of trees we choose, what kind of vegetation, how do we unseal surfaces in order to have permeables and add permeable surfaces in order to reduce heat absorbing paved areas, what kind of water features we need to add, and what do we expect from this guide in order to have a target of what it is that works, what doesn't work for these conditions we have in Limassol, and then have something to kind of follow through and then test whether it has worked in order to go back to it and adjust if necessary, or replicate if it achieves the desired results. So the one guide was developed in order to provide cooling through the development of parks, or the renovation of parks, or the upgrade of parks, or creation of new parks. And the other is creating a standardized guide for parking spaces. So even though as Limassol Municipality, before I mentioned that one of the challenges is that we have is traffic congestion. We cannot deny that parking spaces will always exist. Cars will always exist. We will always have paved areas in the city. So really, by taking a parking space and standardizing the design and deciding on how we can create a cool parking space, then we kind of started thinking about how to introduce cool and permeable pavements, what kind of shading these parks can have in order for them, these parking spaces can have in order for them to stop becoming like an open air oven in the city, generating like a tiny urban heat island like spot in the city, but rather how it can actually become something more useful for the city as a like a cooling area. So again, kind of selected different types of materials that could lead to the desired results. And also in these cases, because we have beyond shading with trees, we also added the production of energy in the specific parking spaces. So how do we cover certain areas in order to shade them, and at the same time produce energy on the spot by like having with solar, I think the carports, in order to kind of produce local energy. So this is another deliverable. And again, by standardizing this, that, you know, all parking spaces should be covered with, let's say, photovoltaic in order to produce some sort of energy whilst maintaining the asphalt cool. And like having this as a solution for the urban heat island effect. Then all of these are mapped. There are identified locations in the city. They were mapped, and they have been set as a target from today, from 2024 actually, to 2029, in order to be replicated and scaled up. So currently, the project is going through the implementation stage, and we will be finalizing some of the deliverables end of May, and then some others will run through until September, and then we will be able to go back, measure, see the results, and see what we keep in order to replicate and what we don't in order to adjust and change. So by taking these challenges Limassol faces, and by designing the guide and following through the guide and implemented it as it was designed, then we aim to kind of create spaces that are that contribute into solving the main challenge of the urban heat island effect. Taking from this image, this is the Garillis River in Limassol, which is a linear park, an oasis for Limassol. So taking inspiration from successful stories in the city, we want to repeat, mimic, and extend in order to contribute to our targets. You can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and follow this evolution and follow through, follow the project how it goes. We have also other projects that aim to contribute to the different challenges that I mentioned. And yes, basically this is from my side. 2 guides. They will be soon available